that we do that at Trinity, and in particular, I think that are unique for our Office of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion. One is around the education that you get. So you'll have probably been reading about the curriculum and the wonderful faculty that will be teaching you inside the classroom, the work that they'll do with you outside the classroom. What you might not know is that at Trinity, we have just hired 10 new faculty and tenure line positions. 8 of those 10 will be faculty of color. So I share that because Trinity is on the move. You will be joining an institution that's really taking its mission around inclusivity seriously. And there's work to do. So you also get to come and help do that work. So I think that's exciting to me as I think about what's ahead of us in the year to come. I also want to say that we are looking at a diversity requirement. So some institutions have these, Trinity does not, but our faculty, we're meeting in a subcommittee. I'm part of that subcommittee to really talk about what it is for our students to be educated around diversity, what this might mean. We have a student on that committee. Nice thing about the other thing around our education is that we think about leadership. Our students get amazing leadership opportunities. You're going to hear from them today a little bit later about the leadership opportunities, but we really include students just about everywhere in every governance opportunity, every committee. We work very hard to make sure the voices of our students are heard and listened to. And really, our students are the ones that are keeping us like on task, right? Like, let's just be serious. In addition to education, we are thinking about accountability in very different ways because we're not perfect. I mean, no institution is perfect, but we are, I think, taking this accountability issue seriously. So we have things like Campus Climate Incident Response Team. We have students here, Jamie's on. We've got some people here on the team, right? That team is about getting reports if there are bias incidents. We share those with the right people who will investigate. We meet, talk about how do we care for our community and what do we need to do going forward. So we're really thinking about accountability in some very different ways and serious ways. So we're not perfect, but we get that we've got to listen and we've got to follow up and do things to address issues. And finally, so education, accountability, and access. Access to resources and access to people. One of the things I'm most proud about at Trinity is that we just started this a couple years ago, the Student Emergency and Equity Fund. That was one of the things that we put in place. Our trustees stepped up and we now have a fund that's over $300,000 so that any student coming here, no matter what kind of situation you might find yourself in, because we all find ourselves in situations sometimes where we need some resources and we might not want to ask people that we know to help us. We have resources here that are financial. They can cover just about anything that you might need support with at the time. In addition to financial resources, we got people resources. The people that you're going to hear from today are part of those resources. And one thing I would also add, I'm one of the administrators. So I'm one of the senior level administrators. At Trinity, all the gap that sometimes is between the administrators and the students, we really don't have that here. Any student can reach out to any administrator and ask for time. I meet with students regularly and I talk to students regularly. Our president holds office hours for students. So I just want to say that access to people, access to resources, the education that you'll get, us looking at accountability and putting in place measures, practices that will make us a more inclusive campus. We are doing that. And our students are keeping us honest and pushing us forward. So I will stop there. I would love it if I could have a conversation with all of you all, but I know that's not possible. So I'm going to stop here and say that you can email me, anita.davis@trincall.edu if you have any questions, or if you just want to have a conversation at the last minute where you're like, let me just talk about this a little bit more. I promise I will respond and we'll have that conversation. So I'm going to turn things over to Carol Correa-DeVest, who is our Director of our Multicultural Affairs, Office of Multicultural Affairs. Thanks everybody, and I'll take it away, Carol.
I was on mute still. Thank you, Dr. Davis. Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Carol Correa-DeVest, Director for Multicultural Affairs. I've been at Trinity for a little over 22 years. I am going to share my screen with everyone now. We are diversity, equity, and inclusion, and we cultivate inclusive spaces at Trinity College. As Dr. Davis had mentioned, we work collaboratively with partners across campus to ensure that all of our members feel included and have all of the resources that they need to be able to thrive. This is our agenda today. We already talked a little bit about diversity, equity, and inclusion. We're going to be talking about multicultural affairs, the Queer Resource Center, the Women and Gender Resource Action Center, as well as community engagement. And then we'll give you a little bit of time for question and answer. Has everyone seen this video? Lily, do you know if the students saw this video already?
I think it's available, but I think if it's something you can play, that would be great.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and play our diversity and equity and inclusion video. It's a little, not that dated. We did it 2 years ago. Let's see if this will work for us.
If I had to sum up diversity, equity, inclusion in one word, it would be mindset. It's what we bring to a situation in terms of how we think about engaging with others, our awareness of ourselves in those moments where we really are engaging with different people and different ideas that we may not have encountered before.
Well, Trinity College is a microcosm of this society. The Department of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion basically creates a department that prioritizes these issues, that gets these issues on the table to be dealt with, and that empowers students to work on them and educates the entire campus.
It's important to have the experience of knowing the similarities that we have with one another, so that when we go out into the world, we can really solve these major global problems that we're having.
Where we are today on college campuses, they are increasingly made up of folks that weren't ordinarily on campuses like Trinity. And for us to be successful in having a community that even knows how to talk to each other, that even understands how to ask tough questions, we need folks who can help guide that.
So I'm the director of LGBTQ life here. So I'm one of the 3 offices that directly report to the VP of DEI. We work under that umbrella of DEI to ensure that our LGBTQ students, faculty, and staff feel as though they have a place at our universities.
Promoting respect for inclusive diversity in education is a peer mentor program for students from underrepresented backgrounds. They are trained in leadership development, intercultural knowledge and competencies to deal with students from all different backgrounds.
Well, I've been director of the Women and Gender Resource Action Center, WAGRAC, for 21 years. Our focus has been social change and social justice, and changing and improving the campus culture to make sure everybody feels welcome, with our focus on women-identified students.
The Queer Resource Center, I think Multicultural Affairs, Women and Gender, we kind of operated in silos. Creating this division allowed for us to better work together, that lends itself to students feeling more included on campus, and faculty and staff.
So my vision was to see diversity, equity, and inclusion do exactly what it says it's supposed to do, which is bring everyone together. And to start that, we had to do it with ourselves.
We don't go into a space as WAGRAC. We don't go into a space as QRC. We don't go into a space as Multicultural Affairs. We are diversity, equity, inclusion, and this is what we do collectively.
The creation of this department will strengthen our ties and strengthen our ability to collaborate and to create new initiatives on campus to address these issues.
How do we build on what we have, but also figure out resources, partners, collaborations that we can engage in to make sure that we are also connected to faculty initiatives and also staff initiatives, more and more positioning us to not just be student facing, to recognizing that there is a really big campus that we need to be responsive to.
The strength of DEI is the ability to work together, to understand one another for one common goal. That goal is so that everybody could get the best education, and the only way that we can do that is by having contact with people that we find different from us.
This is about all of us. It's not about a particular group. It's not about a particular perspective. It's about how do we together build the Trinity that we want it to be.
Thank you. Who we are. I'm Carol Correa de Best, the Director for Multicultural Affairs. You've met Dr. Davis. You will meet Laura, Jared, and Robert shortly. Multicultural Affairs, what we are and what we do. I work with Jared Delane, who is the Program Coordinator and the Cultural House Supervisor. Our mission for Multicultural Affairs is to serve as a resource for you students and people and folks in the community. We're responsible for promoting multicultural and diverse, equitable engagement that sustains relationships. We're very, very heavy on relationships. We want students, staff, and faculty and alumni to know each other and hold space with one another. So we try to do most of our programming around that. Our goals are to always collaborate with students. We're student facing, engaging in faculty and other administrators to support you students academically and whatever other programs you want to do. We assess the campus for its social and cultural climate and environment and hope to satisfy students in promoting the change where you feel it's needed. We support multicultural programming with all of the various student groups, along with the Multicultural Affairs Council of SGA. We also promote leadership via the cultural houses. We have cultural house coordinators, again, with the Multicultural Affairs Council and the Pride program, which Jared will introduce himself and tell you a little bit more about the Promoting Respect for Inclusive Diversity in Education peer program. The Multicultural Affairs Council of SGA advises and mentors student organizations and leaders. We hold retreats once or twice a year and help students gain a sense of personal responsibility and accountability to community. Renita will talk to us a little bit about Multicultural Affairs Council in a few. And Jared, I will pass it now over to you.
All right, thank you, Carol, and thank you everybody for joining us today. My name is Jared Delane. My full title is Pride Program Coordinator and Cultural House Supervisor. So before I go into a little bit of Pride, you just saw previously Carol talking about the cultural houses. Just to go a little bit more in depth of that, is that there are 3 themed cultural houses that are under the purview of Multicultural Affairs that are available to the student body. And we encourage all of our students across campus, whether you specifically identify with the theme of the house or not, to utilize them to their capacity and so forth. And now just to describe a little bit about Pride. So Pride stands for Promoting Respect for Inclusive Diversity in Education. The mission of Pride is to provide social and academic support for incoming students. So we primarily focus on incoming first years to provide a better better transition for them once they arrive to campus, and also providing increased awareness and acceptance of differences among members of the student body as a whole. So our Pride leaders, we train them. This is one of the leadership opportunities that Dr. Davis was alluding to. We pride our Pride leaders in being thoughtful and thought-provoking for the type of programming that they provide, multiple support for students, provide resources, and make sure that students, primarily first years, as I had mentioned, have a smooth and successful transition while their tenure at Trinity. You can go to the next one. And next, we'd just like to give you a brief little introduction to some of our first year orientation opportunities. The first being Pride Welcome Weekend, which is when we have all of our students come together and introduce themselves to the Pride leaders and come a little bit closer. Yeah, I know, that's a nice picture, right, Gio? Come right before regular orientation so that they become more acquainted with the campus, with the area of Hartford as a whole. Faculty and staff, we just want to make sure that students feel that they have the appropriate resources and tools to be able to be successful. We also like to encourage students to become more acquainted and familiar with Hartford, because this will also be your home while you're at Trinity. And in addition to fostering that through Pride, we also have the Bantam Network's Hartford Architecture, Ethnic Culture, and Cuisine, where you get to explore the different architecture, history, and food throughout Hartford. And lastly, we also have a block party that we host at the end of orientation. So yeah, that's just a quick little introduction about multicultural affairs. And now I'll pass it over to Laura Lockwood to tell more about the Queer Research Center and WAGREC.
Am I unmuted? Sorry about that. Hi, everybody. I'm Laura Lockwood. I'm the director of the Women and Gender Resource Action Center, known as WAGRAC, and currently I'm the contact person for the Queer Resource Center, the QRC, while we're in the process of hiring Carrie Robinson, who you met in the video, unfortunately left the campus for another exciting job. So I'm the current contact person, and I'll just go through the mission and explain what QRC is. First, I want to say that my pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm joined tonight by Giselle Hernandez, who's our social media coordinator, and some of you will get to meet her later. Okay, so the mission of the QRC, first and foremost, serves as a resource and safe space and a mentoring space for students. We provide education, training, mentoring, and advocacy for the LGBTQ community. And we collaborate with partners all throughout the campus to ensure that everybody is included. And our work is mostly to create a strong and cohesive LGBTQ plus community. And we try to create a welcoming space and a campus that's welcoming to all. So the Queer Resource Center is located at the south end of the campus on 114 Crescent Street. Currently, we don't have staff in the office, but I am available through email, accessible through Zoom meetings, and I'm working closely with the students while we're during COVID. So, and until we hire somebody. And then inside the QRC, you can see the next slide will show some of the cool spaces that we have. It's a house and it has all this great space. There's a library, there's office, there's extra room for board meetings, for students to hang out. It's just an absolutely beautiful space, and you'll definitely have to check it out when you get to campus. So some of the signature events that the QRC holds is Ally Week in January, which is the last week of January, the LGBTQ History Month in October. And October is a huge month. As you may know, there's National Coming Out Day, October 11th, International Pronoun Day, October 20th. And then we go into November, Transgender Awareness Month. And there's so many things going on this semester. We just had a drag bingo, which was hosted bingo night, which is hosted by drag queens. And we had fabulous prizes, including best dress, $75 prize. We're having a Netflix party this weekend. We're sponsoring a programming for Day of Silence at the end of April. And we're doing our drag show. So there's just so many things going on. And again, these are all programs that we collaborate with throughout the entire community. So EROS is the sort of gay straight alliance of Trinity. So it's a student organization. EROS stands for Encouraging Respective Sexualities. Students run this student org, and basically it's a space to connect, to get to know other queer folks on campus and allies. And, you know, as is written here, it's as much a social space as it is a political one. And some of the programs I already mentioned that EROS is working on. So it's a real privilege and honor to be able to spend time working with the students while we are in the hiring process for a director. So very happy to do that. Okay, now I'm going to switch hats. By the way, I'm not at the beach. I'm on my phone, and we were having a couple of technological problems with my computer earlier. So anyway, okay. So I also direct WAGRAC, and our mission basically is to promote the empowerment and self-determination of women-identified students. So we work with all students, all faculty, and all staff on campus, but our focus is on women-identified students. So basically, we're a place of advocacy, support, and welcome for everyone, with that focus of women-identified students. And our tagline is student activism, education, and community. So all the programming we do, all the education, all the training, all the student orgs that we advise, which are 6 of them right now, everything is geared towards leadership development, empowerment, helping students find and develop their voice, their agency, their power, and to develop leadership skills. So we also work very hard to address gender inequities, promote the understanding of intersectional experiences, and create a campus environment that's conducive to respectful interactions among all people of all gender and all genders and all backgrounds. So WAGRAC is an open and welcoming place for students regardless of gender, gender identity, sexual orientation, race, ethnicity, ability, religion, and political beliefs. We are all about building community. So our student orgs include SEX, which actually has changed their name. So it's now Students Expecting Consent. And they do a lot of awareness raising events and programs to prevent gender-based violence. We have FAB, promoting healthy awareness of the body, that promotes body positivity and body empowerment. Masculinity Project, which is a group that come together to discuss issues related to gender roles, and gender expectations. Ignite, which is the Trinity chapter of our national program. And Jamie Bianca, who is on the call tonight, is a co-president of Ignite. And they do a lot of programming around promoting leadership development and leadership goals to around issues of political empowerment for women and helping women achieve leadership goals and positions post-graduation in politics. And then our newest group is Women in Business, which addresses, among many other issues, sort of the dearth of the lack of women in business boardrooms and as CEOs across the country. So some of our signature programs, the Masculinity Project sponsors Walk a Mile in Their Shoes every April, which again raises awareness around gender and power-based violence. And Women's History Month we just had in March, and we had a really incredible program celebrating the historic inauguration of Kamala Harris. And we had another program with some of our alums who called in from Mali and Saudi Arabia, called Women's Rights Across the Globe, our alums at work. So these are some of the, the wide breadth of programming that we do. We also oversee the Green Dot Violence Prevention Strategy on campus to try to create a campus-wide prevention program to decrease power-based personal violence. And then also, we heard about Welcome Week earlier. WAGRAC does their own Welcome Week as well as, and collab with everyone else to welcome first-year students onto campus. So the center also sponsors, we sponsor a lot of programs and we have a lot of fun. We also sponsor trips off campus. We've taken students everywhere from El Paso to Puerto Rico to California, all over the country for conferences for educational awareness trips. So just to wrap up, some of our opportunities for first years includes our Big Sister, Little Sister program, which you sign up for over the summer through your first year portal. And that's a mentoring program. So it's upper class female identified students working with incoming first years. The Flag Project, which celebrates our diverse identities. And we do a Hartford Highlights pre-orientation program where we take students around the Hartford, where we're located, for 2 days, and we explore food, music, history, and other, and yeah, food, music, history of Hartford. So I'm all talked out. I'm going to turn it over now to Robert, who will talk about community engagement. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laura. Hi, I'm Robert Cota Jr., the Community Fellow with DEI. Next slide. Thank you. So hold on just a minute. All right, thanks. So connecting to Hartford, I actually am in 2 different offices, which works awesome. I'm with the DEI office and with the community connecting with Hartford Engagement and Research Office, or SHARE is another way. So DEI and SHARE, 2 offices I work with. And ideas about connecting to Hartford and engaging with Hartford in a variety of different ways, really from both directions, right? So we have a number of students at Trinity in many different ways they identify with, in terms of gender, in terms of race, and so on. And they're often looking for connections within the community. And so kind of what I try to do in both my offices is to connect people from Trinity with people in Hartford that may have similar ideas, similar concerns, similar questions about their life and their growing up. And in particular, I work with a K-12 school at the Learning Corridor called HMTCA. It's literally across the street from Trinity. So when you're at the Trinity campus, you may see like across the street, there's a number of schools there, including HMTCA, which is a grade 6 to 12 high school that is a key partner with Trinity. And over time, this partnership has developed. At first, it's sort of started with academic work where students at the school come over to Trinity to take classes. And over the last several years in my work with the DEI office as a community fellow is to try to connect 2 different groups or communities and connect them to talk more about diversity, to talk more about what equity looks like, and also inclusion at both campuses. And so what I've been able to do over the last couple of years is connecting, whether it be events, whether it be news, whether it be people, in moving forward in those different areas of DEI. So in other words, DEI is sort of a place, not just for Trinity students, but for also folks in Hartford to kind of have a sort of back and forth relationship. And so as I mentioned, in my work, I support Trinity and Hartford youth at Learning in the City. And you can see below just a couple of like examples that you might, just to kind of talk about. So below is the WAGRAC office met with students at HMTCA. And that was Laura Lockwood's office, right? And she did that work. And so what did I do? I said, I want to kind of show how this is an example of how we can connect as Trinity folks. We can connect the Trinity community with other people in the community in Hartford in particular, which is a primarily Puerto Rican, Latino, and African American community, in terms of its residents. And then the next photo is the LVL, La Voz Latina group, has been over the last couple of years meeting with Latino and Puerto Rican students at the magnet school called HMTCA to delve more into their identity as Latino students and Puerto Rican students. And so that particular picture was with a couple of our students that are on the call right now, I think, in terms of connecting with local community. And then also we have Imani, the Black Student Union, did a similar connecting event at the high school. So the sort of big picture is, seeing DEI as a Trinity thing, but also connecting to the community as well in a variety of different ways, depending on what your identity might be and how you see yourself at a particular time. So that's the work that I do. I'll stop there and turn it over to my team, which is really an amazing team here at Trinity.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, everyone. I know that was a little bit, a lot of stuff in that presentation. Now we will introduce ourselves to one another, if that's all right. We could start with our office staff, our student office staff.
Hello.
Oh, just kidding.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to put on my first hat right now. My name is Renita Washington. I am, oh, the spotlight. I wasn't expecting that. Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Renita Washington. I am a junior educational studies major, community action minor, and I'm the student assistant to Dr. Davis. And I'll pass it to Carolina.
Hi everyone, my name is Carolina Barrientos. I'm from Houston, Texas. And on campus, I'm the co-office manager to the Office of Multicultural Affairs, but I'm also the culture house coordinator for La Raca. And I'll pass it to Karina.
Oh no, I don't think we can hear you.
Karina, just go ahead and drop your information in the chat until you figure out your audio issue. And then I'll pass it to Giselle to go next.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. My name is Giselle Hernandez. I am the social media marketing specialist for the Queer Research Center. I am also the MAC liaison for WAGRAC, and I'm also the vice president of La Voz Latina. And what I am majoring in is I'm double majoring with educational studies and theater and dance. So I will pass it on to Giovanni.
Can you guys hear me? Hi, everyone. My name is Giovanni Jones. Everyone calls me Gio. I'm a senior here at Trin. I am majoring in sociology and minoring in legal studies. I'm the current student government association president, along with one of the co-presidents of the Men of Color Alliance, and I'm also a social media associate at the communications office here at Trinity as well. And I will pass it to who hasn't gone yet. I think I'm the last one.
Oh, I haven't gone.
Okay, Jamie, there you go.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jamie Bianca, and I'm currently a senior at Trinity. And next month, I will be graduating with 3 bachelor's degrees in educational studies, human rights, and English. I have been volunteering with WAGRAC since my 2nd semester of my freshman year, and I am the current president and co-founder of our Ignite chapter. And as Laura talked about, Ignite is a female empowerment and political leadership organization, and it has been such a joy being able to run Ignite. I also serve as a senator on our Student Government Association, and I have the opportunity to serve on the campus climate incident response team that Dr. Davis talked about earlier, and I also serve on working groups for our Title IX interim policies, as well as our non-discrimination policies. And when Dr. Davis said that the students and administrators know each other, that's so true. I feel like I know Dr. Davis really well, as well as Dean Joe D. Christina, and President Joanne Berger Sweeney knows my name, and that just makes me so happy. So you really do get to know the administrators here, and there really isn't that gap between students and administrators. So I just wanted to emphasize that, because that just could not be more true.
Thank you, Jamie. So I believe that is all DEI student office staff.
What about Tiana?
Tiana.
Oh, Tiana, sorry.
Yeah. Technically, I'm not DEI student admission staff. However, I am part of the MRT, which is the Multicultural Recruitment Team. It is a team of interns dedicated to making the college search process and the kind of college transition really easy and much more supported for students of color and other marginalized backgrounds. On top of that, I am a president and one of the founders of Nest Artists, which is an artistic collective on campus that we do murals, we have artistic showcases, we promote student work, and we get students paid because we believe in paying for labor, and especially talking about how culture relates to our art, because a lot of our artists are students of color that use their art as a way to convey what they're going through. On top of that, I also work with Mac. I work with Giselle on the communications team. Shout out to Giselle, love you. And I'm very happy to see everyone today. I see some familiar faces from past MRT events, and so I'm really happy to see y'all and continue this conversation.